Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. We're going to show you an Andrew Scheer produced video. He does great stuff. Check out his channel. I'm tired of preaching. Let's let Andrew do some of the explaining. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Let's watch this. I bet you we're going to learn something. Let's take a look.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
What do Russia, Venezuela, Equatorial Guinea probably, and Canada all have in common? Well, each one of these countries have robust approvals processes for big projects, things like natural resources or energy. For example, in Russia, just like Canada, there is an energy regulator. There is an approvals board for big energy projects, and a project proponent has to satisfy certain criteria. Venezuela has incredibly restrictive rules and processes to get energy sources developed. So many countries around the world have, on paper, very robust and rigorous rules and processes to get big projects built or natural resources developed. And they're all done under the guise of environmental protection or labor codes.
Russia's efforts have helped us slow down global warming by almost a year. We have significantly reduced greenhouse gas emissions.
And yet when you think of these countries, you don't think of great labor practices or robust environmental protection. And when you look at the challenges in all these countries, you wouldn't really say that they're functioning well, would you? The people in charge are just dictators. And everyone talks about how corrupt everything is, how to get something done, you gotta pay off a politician. Bribery is a line item on the books of most corporations operating in those economies. So how is it that these countries can have similar robust laws and regulations in place and approvals processes but have such terrible results? It's because they all have something in common: selective enforcement. In each of these countries, powerful politicians pick and choose which projects get approved, who gets the permit, and by extension, who makes the money. It's not about who is actually following the rules and regulations, who's got the best product, or who's found the best way to serve the marketplace. It's who's the best connected, who paid off the right politician, who got in front of the right decision makers, and convinced them to give them the green light. And thanks to Mark Carney, that selective enforcement is now actually enshrined in law in Canada. With one piece of legislation, Mark Carney has now given himself the same power that dictators the world over have used to make themselves more rich and more powerful. To fully understand what Mark Carney has done, we have to go back to this guy. Remember him?
We can't shut down the oil sands tomorrow. We need to phase them out.
Yeah, that's Mark Carney's former boss, the guy that Mark Carney was giving all kinds of advice and recommendations to as he was running the economy into the ground. And remember Justin Trudeau's famous words when the leaders of countries like Japan, Germany, Poland came here asking us to sell them LNG, our clean and ethical natural gas.
And explore ways to see if it makes sense to export LNG, and if there's a business case for it, to export LNG directly to Europe.
That is Justin Trudeau standing on a pier in Quebec with the German chancellor who has just begged us to sell him LNG, saying there is no business case.
Would you like to see, if I could ask you bluntly, Canada export more LNG to Europe?
We would really like Canada to export more LNG to Europe, yes.
No business case. No business case when customers are literally beating down your door, begging you to sell them what you have. This would be like a restaurant owner telling a whole bunch of people lined up for lunch, there's no business case for lunch. Now, clearly, no one told the Americans that there is no business case for LNG. In the last few months alone, the United States has signed over $750 billion worth of LNG deals with stable democratic economies around the world.
I'm also pleased to announce that Japan will soon begin importing historic new shipments of clean American liquefied natural gas in record numbers. It'll be record numbers.
Canada could have done that. Now, in addition to telling world leaders there's no business case for LNG, Justin Trudeau stacked the deck against big energy projects. He brought in all kinds of new laws, including Bill C-69, that designed the approvals process to get to a no.
My predecessor wanted you to know Canada for its resources. Well, I want you to know Canadians for our resourcefulness.
The result? Well, we all remember. Energy East, abandoned. Tech Frontier Mine, abandoned. Northern Gateway, vetoed. Trudeau didn't just, as some polite economists observe, oversee the departure of billions of dollars of investments in Canada's energy sector. He called those investments a cab, threw them into the backseat, gave the driver $100 and said, get him out of here. But seriously, each one of those project cancellations didn't just represent a drop in GDP or mutual funds not performing as well as they could have. Hundreds of thousands of Canadians lost their jobs. Businesses went bankrupt. Families were torn apart, and Canadians have to suffer with a lower quality of life because of all of that. Enter Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau's most trusted economic advisor.
It is great to be here.
So basically what's happened here is Justin Trudeau stacked the deck, gamed the system, put in all kinds of burdens and hurdles designed to block big energy projects. And what Mark Carney's done is he hasn't gotten rid of all those awful rules and regulations. He's just given himself the power to decide who has to jump through those obstacles. Mark Carney brought in legislation to give him the power to decide which projects can just ignore the process that Justin Trudeau imposed on them. He's literally written into law the power to add projects to a list that are exempted from all kinds of other federal statutes and regulations. This is exactly what happens in countries run by dictatorships like Russia, where powerful politicians can just decide to ignore rules to benefit favored companies. That is the essence of the corruption that goes on in Russia. Big, powerful oligarchs bribe officials to get their projects approved. They make money by selling their product, but only after getting a sweetheart deal from the government. This is bad for so many reasons. Not only does it expose Canada's political system to the possibility of corruption on a massive scale, because remember, we're talking about multi-billion-dollar projects, but it also completely changes the nature of how our economy works. You see, up until this Liberal government, any energy company could propose a project, as long as they could raise the cash for it themselves and go through the reasonable approvals process and come out the other side with a yes, they could go ahead. What Mark Carney's done now, though, is he's telling every single energy company, every single big project proponent, no, unless he picks you.
What we're going to do is fast track the approval, truly fast track the approval of those projects. And we are going to name specific projects to which these fast track approvals apply. In effect, we're going to have a competition with projects.
This is like a horse race where Justin Trudeau came along and mandated that all the horses had to run in concrete horseshoes and they all had to carry heavy bags of weight and jockeys had to be over 6 feet tall. And then Mark Carney comes along and says, yes, all these other horses have to comply with all those rules, but he gets to pick which one gets to run with normal horseshoes with no extra weight and a good old-fashioned 4'11" jockey. Guess which one's going to win? The same is true for our economy. Now, what Mark Carney is creating is not a system where every company tries to be leaner and provide a better service. Now, all their focus will be on convincing politicians to pick them to get exempted from all the terrible Trudeau-era rules that blocked these projects in the first place. The reason why this matters to everybody is because when governments allow a free market to operate, every CEO, no matter the company, has to think all the time, how do I please you, the consumer, the person? How to please and serve the market? When powerful politicians like Mark Carney give themselves the power to pick and choose which companies get exempted from rules and regulations, well, now all those CEOs, they're not going to invest in research and marketing, trying to figure out what would make your life better. They're going to figure out how to please Mark Carney, how to win favor from politicians, giving him the power to decide which companies actually get to a yes. And by extension, who makes the money. Mark Carney is virtually ensuring that Canada will still lose out on billions of dollars in investments. Those revenues pay for your hospital, they pay for your school, they fund your pensions and your mutual funds. Every Canadian in every province benefits when our energy sector is firing on all cylinders. Now, Conservatives had a really bold and innovative idea. Simply undo the damage that Justin Trudeau did. Bring back that reasonable criteria for projects to go through to get approved and give everybody the same level playing field. Mark Carney just couldn't do that because that's not who he is. He's written an entire book about this. He spent his whole life talking about how the people cannot be trusted to make their own decisions.
My weakness is, people will charge me as being elitist or a globalist, to use that term, which is, that's exactly, it happens to be exactly what we need.
Why does he not believe in the free market? Because he doesn't trust you to pick the things that he wants you to pick. He doesn't trust you to live your life the way he wants you to live it. This is a classic big government, interventionist, politicians know better approach that has caused corruption in dictatorships all around the country and back through time. So this is the path that Mark Carney has chosen. He's asked Canadians to trust him to handle this kind of awesome power and not have it end in failure. But Conservatives aren't done fighting. We are still fighting towards the ultimate goal of undoing all that damage from the Trudeau era, restoring those free market principles, and a fair and transparent regulatory process with reasonable criteria that gives everybody a chance to succeed in this country.
All right, gang, so that's Andrew Scheer. He's an MP from Regina Chapelle, and he's the funniest guy on Parliament Hill anyways, but he is a sharp gentleman, and that is what's going on. Carney's looking to take over Canada. Like, he doesn't care what happens to you or I. He doesn't care if people are sick or crime is up, if the immigration is if there's no housing, food costs. He doesn't care about any of that. He just wants control and power. He's a tyrant, deviant, a sociopath, in my opinion. I like Andrew Scheer, though. His videos are great. Check out his channel. It's in the description. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. If you want to learn something about politics, open your eyes. Check out the videos that I make. I mostly cover like hard politics, not other people's videos in the news. We show here politics in real time, what is actually happening. You'll learn a lot that way. Anyhow, Aaron, like I say, thank you for watching the video. Like, share, subscribe, share it with somebody if you really enjoyed it. We'll catch you in the next video. Later, gang.